Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subject is principle of auditing, and today lecture is on internal control. Topic to be discussed in today lecture are what is internal control, internal check, and internal audit. What is internal audit, internal and external auditing, principle of internal control, review and reliance of internal control. What is an internal control? Internal control indicate the whole system of control employed by management in the conduct of the business day-to-day operations. Internal control includes internal check, internal audit, and other forms of control. Its efficient working in practical aspect is helpful not only for management but also for external auditors to plan their audit and to apply their substantive test. It includes all methods in order to achieve the below objectives. First objective is to protect its asset against their improper disbursement. By asset we means cash, inventory, fixed asset. Fixed asset means improper use of fixed asset. To protect against incurrence of improper liability. It means that any person and management or an operation of the company may not be able to incur a liability that is not in the best interest of the organization. Liability means financial liability, any transaction which increase claim against the company. Third objective is to assure the accuracy and reliability of financial and other reporting of the company. That is the fourth objective of internal control, to judge and examine operating efficiency. Fifth one is to ensure compliance with the company policies. It means in crux that what has been written in black and white, is it the same that is practiced in the company? That is the fifth objective to be achieved by internal control. Internal checks. What is the difference between internal checks, internal control, and internal audit? The words internal audit, internal checks, and internal control have been used interchangeably, but they are different from each other. Internal checks. Check means a system under which working relating to carry out and recording of transaction is delegated amongst various persons in such a way that work of one person is automatically checked by other person and thus reduce the possibility of fraud and error. This is basically work related to carrying and recording of transaction. So carrying of a business and recording of transaction should be allocated to different people. Why? Because work done by one person who are carrying on the business and the person who are recording it will be checked by the other person. What will be the objective? To reduce fraud and error. Internal audit. It is a continuous review of operation and records undertaken within the business, and it's normally done by specialized assigned staff. It should operate independently of internal check and in no case should dismiss anyone of the responsibility placed upon him. So it have assigned staff who is work independently of the management. This is called internal audit. In organization, practically internal audit is conducted by internal audit department. The chief of internal audit department is not reportable to chief executive officer. He is reportable to the board of directors, chairman of the board in all matters. Now, what is internal control? That is basically the system which include internal checks, both in internal control. This is a whole system of control established by management. Why? In order to carry out the business effectively and efficiently. Its objective is to safeguard its asset, enhance reliability of financial reporting. So internal control scope cover both internal audit and internal check. Internal audit definition. What is Khaja Saab definition? Khaja Saab define internal audit is a continuous review. Means since that is an internal audit department is working internally in organization hierarchy. So it is a continuous review. Review of what? Operation and record. Operations happen separately from record. Undertaken by within the business and normally done by specially assigned staff. So internal audit is conducted by assigned staff. It should operate independently of internal check, so no segregation of authority, no hierarchy of the management. No KUST should divest anyone of the responsibility. Means internal audit do not discharge anybody of his responsibility placed upon him. So internal audit is basically just a review. It's not informal hierarchy of the management. Internal audit never dismiss any person of his job. He just gave instruction, and nobody can claim that since internal audit is responsible for that weakness, he will not be discharged as responsible. He will not be acquitted of his responsibilities just by blaming internal auditor. So Institute of Internal Auditing, sorry, it's a typo, ISIIA, Institute of Internal Auditors. USA define the internal audit as independent appraisal of activity. Appraisal and review, just both words convey the same meaning. Within the organization means specialized staff are assigned for them. For review of operation is a service to management. So internal audit department gave service to management, not to a shareholder, because it's appraises the activity of the organization, either it is working efficiently or not. It is a managerial control which functions by measuring and evaluating the effectiveness of other control. So there are a lot of control in the management in the company. So internal control is basically one of the control who control other control, who check the effectiveness of other controls. For example, in handling a case, there would be a list that one person who are receiving the case should not be the same person who are recording the case. After a certain limit, the case should be banked, not be left with the sale buyer with the person. So these are controls. The internal audit department review these things, that either it is practically following the internal control or not. Internal audit, scope of internal audit. So what is the scope of internal audit? Internal audit department examination and evaluation of adequacy and effectiveness of organizational system of internal control and quality of performance against assigned responsibilities. Two things. It check the effectiveness of internal control, and second, quality of performance, that the person is really following the policies, is really following the list that have been assigned to him, really following the job assigned to him. That is the scope of internal audit. So internal audit never communicate to any other person outside the organizations. He never report to shareholder. He just provide suggestions to the chief executive officers of the company regarding different operation of the company. Role of internal audit. The internal audit will review reliability and integrity of information. What information the company is providing, either it is reliable and it is made with honesty, it is clean from any bad intention of the management. Second role is compliance with the policies, plans, procedures, laws and regulations. And again, I would say that this role of the internal audit is that what has been written in the document or of the company is the same as practice in the company. So the third role is safeguarding of asset. Asset means fixed asset, current asset that are not misappropriated, embezzlement, misused, theft, etc., etc. Economical and efficient use of resources. Not these things, the use of the resources should be efficient and economic. Economic means that it costs less to the organization. The role achieving of set objective and goals set by the organizations, and then how much it is achieved is also role of internal audit. Internal audit is a kind of forward-looking approach in the management. So we will discuss one by one. Evaluation of internal control. Informations are accurate and adequate. What information is the company is providing? Is it adequate enough to make any decisions, and it is accurate? These are basically one of the internal audit job. Second is resources are protected from theft, embezzlement and carelessness. So it is again a forward-looking approach that the internal audit make it sure that in future it should not be misappropriated. A control over all phases of operations means it's just like a total quality management. So it is again a forward-looking approach that all phases should be efficiently controlled, and there should be proper written document SOPs for all phases of operation, so that the work or the job moves smoothly in the operation of the company. Second is review of accounting efficiency. What procedures are being followed to record the accounting economic transaction? Space is fully utilized by the organizations. Any underutility will be reported by the internal audit department. So it is again a forward looking approach. HR deficiency and proper succession planning. Any programs for retention of old record is also job of internal audit, and while reviewing the accounting efficiency of the company. Appraisal means proper implement. All the policies are properly implemented? or not? What procedure have been laid down, are organizations comply with it or not? Review of individual performance and examining plan of organization. Means what is the plan? Is it followed or not? Is it cover all the area of the organizations? Is it cover is it cover the dynamic changes coming in the environment or in the business environment? So all these things comes in the scope of internal audit. So these are certain type of forward looking approach of internal audit in the company. Place of internal auditor in organizations. What is the place of internal auditor in management hierarchy? It is staff authority rather than line authority. They just give suggestion. They don't instruct anybody to report to them, to change, to rotate him, or to give any proper instruction to follow it. They will just give suggestions to the head of the all section, to the chief executive officer. So they cannot direct any employees directly. It will just give suggestion and pinpoint the weaknesses in any internal control. The internal audit is free to examine any policy, any plan, any record. He can check any document at any time. Internal auditor should be independent to perform his function. Independent from the management and independent from any other quarter working in the organizations. Fourth, not reportable to CEO, but report directly to the chairman of the board of director. What report internal audit? So it's a typo. Internal audit department report. What is the format of report? To whom it communicates its report? Internal auditor communicate their findings through report, but there is no formal format of this report. It depends on the nature of the findings, on the nature of the weaknesses, and on the nature of the section within the organization. Should be carefully prepared and written. Internal audit report communicate their findings through report. It should be prepared and written carefully. The report should be written the name of the person to whom it should be addressed. Finding recommendation should be clearly written. Main idea written in the body should not be explained in the body. It should be supported with annexure to the report. So main idea should not be explained in the body of the report. Its working, its calculation should be given in annexures. This is one of the important point. Rough draft should be discussed and reviewed thoroughly before submitting a final draft. The most burning issue should be highlighted. The auditor should follow up for what? For the above report, that what action have been taken on their findings and recommendations. Internal auditing and external auditing. Appointment. It is appointed by the management. External auditor is appointed by the shareholder in annual general meeting. Internal auditor is employee of the company, while external auditor is employee of a chartered accountant firm, and he is outsider to the company. Major concern: it serves the need of the management because it report on the weaknesses of the internal control and compliance of the policies. So it gives service to the management. It comply with the statutory requirement. What have been written in the law, they will comply it with the while auditing the company. Financial statement. Nature of job. It review operation and internal control for improvement. It give impression independent opinion on the financial statement. Either financial statement are materially misstatement or it give true and fair view. Scope of the work. It is determined by the management. It is determined by the statute. Management job contents, job order. Statutes means law. Internal auditing, audit and external auditing cooperations. Internal audit should work in consultation with the external audit because external auditors sometimes rely on the work of internal audit. What will be the benefit of cooperation? It will eliminate duplication of any work. Duplication of activity will be eliminated. Third point is external audit should follow these guidelines to rely on internal auditor work. What are the working papers and report prepared by the internal auditor? Then on the basis of these report and working paper, the external auditor determine his extent of testing procedure, that how much voucher should be checked, all vouchers should be checked, or we should check the vouchers on the sampling basis. B. Internal audit manual be reviewed to develop audit programs. Internal audit manual is necessary. If the internal audit manual cover all areas, then the external auditor will apply less extent of testing procedures. Third is, what is the qualification of internal auditor? What is the experience of internal auditor? Is internal auditor is relevant, our internal staff is competent and have skillful, knowledgeable, it will help the external auditor in performing their audit. Position of Chief Internal Audit Department must be reviewed. Who is the person? What is his qualification, experience, his independence, his personal traits, his relationship with the CEO, with the chairman, with the family controlling the firms. So all these things must be reviewed. Internal auditing and external auditing. Suggestion for internal auditors. Internal audit should be trained in human behaviors. First, you must be an accountant or have any degree in accountancy, but he should be also have a knowledge of human behavior. The internal auditor should work as watchdog. He should not interfere in the other people's job. He should just work as a watchdog and see and what internal control are being followed, policies are being followed or not, responsibility are being discharged or not. Constructive approach for problem solving. Means this is basically positive approach, that what is the problem, he should solve it rather than increasing the problem. Internal auditor must equip with modern concepts and technique. So the people who are working in internal auditor should be trained in computers and new software used for auditing, new internal control, how to detect a fraud. These should be these things should be included in his training. Training a recent development in internal auditing profession. Internal audit department performs appraisal must be undertaken by independent firms. So internal department appraisal is also necessary. Who will audit the auditors? This is a question. Who will audit the internal auditor? This is again a question. So there should be an independent firm who will check their performance as well. If possible, Institute of Internal Auditor USA qualified member should be hired. Thank you. This is all about today lecture.